So last week, we kind of ended the show talking about the Texas state legislature and the evil acts that they're just putting out in the world.
Gender identity fraud.
Gender identity fraud, hard crime for tough criminals.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Lock you up for that.
For sure. And this week, I thought it would be appropriate to start the show by talking about the Texas state legislature, although in a less outright evil sort of way. And I want to ask you what you think this is about, because I think you're never going to be able to guess.
So let's see. We ended last episode talking about gender identity fraud.
Yeah.
Is this just like a clean sequel? We're bleeding right into the next section?
No. It's not a clean sequel. It's somewhat unrelated, but I can see how they think it's the same thing.
I mean, with Texas, it's usually something like abortion-related, anti-trans, or like guns.
No.
Nothing like that?
No,
All
nothing
right,
like that. It's got to do with education.
Okay.
It's
I'm sure everything good and moral, right?
Yeah, I'll just get right into it. HB number 4814, otherwise known as the Forbidding Unlawful Representation of Role-Playing in Education, or Furries Act.
What the
fuck? Was introduced officially into the Texas House of Representatives by a Representative Stan Gerdez of District 17. The Furries Act.
Do we have nothing better to do in Texas? There's no other pressing issues? Y'all got a 17-lane highway and you're dealing with this?
Medicaid cuts were approved by the House.
Yeah.
Medicaid cuts were approved by the House. The burden of filling, like, the gap in coverage that's going to happen once state funding dries up is going to be pushed onto the states. And instead of state representatives trying to come up with a plan to, I don't know, stop the most vulnerable among them from dying due to lapse in coverage from just losing their health care, they're worried about furries.
They're worried
specifically about furries in school.
A completely fabricated issue, by the way. Like, this was never a thing.
Completely fabricated. Yeah. It's because there's a direct line from that one fucking Joe Rogan clip to this. 2 years, that one Joe Rogan clip that was proven to be just an outright lie, he was talking out of his ass, went so far that now Texas state representatives are introducing the Furries Act.
Was that the one with the litter box?
Yes.
Yeah, the claim was that there was a litter box in school classrooms because some kids were furries and used it to go to the restroom. Actually, what the truth was that there was a litter box in case there was a school shooting.
Yeah. Another thing the Texas state representatives don't want to deal with.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But the proposed piece of legislation aims to target students who exhibit, quote, any type of behavior or accessory displayed by a student in a school district other than behaviors or accessories typically displayed by a member of the Homo sapiens species. There's a list of things that they kind of declare as like falling into this, and it's tails, leashes, collars, or other accessories designed for pets, fur other than naturally occurring human hair or a wig made to look like human hair, artificial animal-like ears, barking, meowing, hissing, or other animal noises not indicative of human speech, licking oneself for the sake of grooming, and using a litter box for the passing of stool, urine, or other human byproducts.
Come on, dog.
This shit is not happening in public schools. Maybe the tails, maybe the ears. That's it.
Or like kids making animal noises because they're fucking children.
Yes. No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
There are kids that they'll probably have a class where they're learning about farm animals and they're mooing and they're cawing and shit.
Shit's fucking insane. And of course, exceptions have been made for school mascots.
Oh, of course.
Because and theme weeks. You know what I'm saying? But that's it. This is what your Texas representatives, we have a plurality of our listeners in Texas. This is what your representatives think is like what they need to be focusing on right now.
I would wonder why mascots in Spirit Weeks are excluded if this is such a problem. Wouldn't that just proliferate the issue?
Yeah.
If there's this massive wave of furries in these classrooms, then wouldn't seeing a school mascot dressed up as like a tiger or something just make that worse?
It's just like how if you have a gay teacher, you're gay now.
Exactly.
It's just like if you have a gay teacher, you're trans, and that teacher is going to be doing a sex change operation after hours.
I only want human-coded mascots.
Yeah, free lunch. Free lunch is bad enough, but you know how some schools have free breakfast?
Oh my God.
It's actually just a ploy to get kids in school early so they can change their sex.
That's what
they can give them bottom surgery.
Well, exactly. You send your son to school at 8 a.m. or whatever, then they come home at 4 p.m. and it's your daughter.
Exactly. And what's going on? And you had no say as a parent.
This is America today. This is America under Biden. And now
they're shitting in a litter box.
Exactly. That's a key step in the process.
They're shitting and pissing in litter boxes with their neo pussy and asshole. Like I can't believe this is the state of the goddamn country right now.
Is this shit gonna pass though?
No, there's no fucking way this passes. Okay. But Greg Abbott endorsed it. Greg Abbott went on and he said this is a great thing because kids are shitting in litter boxes in classrooms. as a ploy to push school vouchers.
You know, it's one thing. The school vouchers thing, that makes sense. It's all just like an economic interest.
His whole angle here is that public schools are unsafe. If kids are doing this in public schools, I don't know, hissing and pissing in litter boxes in front of you during math class, it's unsafe for the quote-unquote normal students, and now the state has to subsidize private education.
Exactly. Like, it all comes back to funneling kids into private schools.
Like, it's not real. They don't even care about this issue, even if it was a real issue, but it's not. It's completely fake. Yeah, some kids wear tails to school, but who fucking cares? You know what I'm saying? It's not doing anything. It's not distracting anybody.
Like
it's not
one
stopping you
kid
from learning. Exactly.
It's like one kid.
It's like one kid
They're
that'll do that.
Anybody.
You know what I mean? And it's like, whatever. But no, it's all an excuse to give welfare to the wealthy.
Yeah, and I was going to say it'd be one thing if it was just like some random state legislator, but it's another thing if the governor is endorsing it. But now it's clear it's just because he wants people to be able to profit off of education with state dollars.
And it's like school vouchers are the dumbest fucking thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, even you give $10,000 to everybody in Texas to subsidize private school tuition, you're still going to have a billion people that can't pay to go to private school. You're still going to have a billion people that can't fucking pay the gap. The $7,000, $10,000, $20,000 gap to fill these $30,000 private school tuitions. It's only going to make it cheaper for rich people to do it.
Yeah, and it's like the typical school voucher argument is that these schools are like poor and we shouldn't make our kids go to poor schools. We're not going to talk about funding these schools better or reallocating property tax dollars or making like the tax scheme different or anything like that.
No, they're bad schools because they have some, I don't know, artifact underneath them that oozes evil.
Yeah, the usual argument is like, we can't make kids go to poor schools. That's bad. So let's give them these vouchers so they can go to private schools if they want. But this is just like, if there's furries at the school, you can get $10,000 from the state.
It's not even. It's just using the idea that, I don't know, maybe there's furries at your school, so please vote for my school voucher program.
This is so stupid.
Please whip your representatives into voting for my school voucher program.
It's not even like the typical, conservative school choice nonsense.
Yeah.
As an attempt to like defund public education. It's like bringing furries into the mix. Like the culture war is fucked.
Yeah,
right
they're
now,
really
people.
just throwing anything out there.
Yeah,
and I'm enlisting. I'm a proud soldier of this culture war. I've done one tour in the culture war so far. I'm approaching the end of my first tour. I'm enlisting again. I'm re-upping my contract.
Trump said wokeness is dead. I'm woker than ever before.
Exactly. Yeah, he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand what I bring to the table.
I've injected myself with so many vials of the woke mind virus.
Yeah,
I'm going crazy.
I'll be the friend that's too woke. I'll fucking do it. And it's like, they didn't even have an argument when it was gay teachers. You know, they didn't even have an argument when it was gay people. But like, I can understand how conservative bigots like thought they had an argument. This is just not real. This has never have been real.
Yeah.
Furries should never be in mainstream conversation.
Shit's continuing to deteriorate. Yeah, it's such a small group of people.
Exactly.
Especially when we're talking about students. It's like one or two.
And it's like a very insular group of people. Like, the internet loves to like dogpile onto furries, but it's like, you got to search out that content. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just being shoved in your face.
And they were like, I mean, I'm not that far removed from high school.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they were never a problem.
Exactly.
They never hurt anybody. They never bothered anybody. In fact, they were probably being hurt by others, like getting made fun of and shit. You know what I mean? It's fucking nonsense.
But now, if an educator is found to support these tendencies in violation of the act, the attorney general may fine the school district up to $25,000.
Oh, good.
So not only are they using furries as a ploy to give rich people tax breaks to send their kids to private school while further disenfranchising your poor kids, they're actively going to make the school district worse by taking more money out of already struggling districts if one kid happens to want to wear a tail. Or put on the fucking skull candy earphones with the goddamn cat ears on the top of them. That's not even a furry thing.
Yeah, it's going to be defunding the schools if they have quote-unquote furries, which we know is complete nonsense anyway.
Yeah.
And then using that money to pay for school vouchers to make some private fuck wealthy.
Exactly.
Off of because they run a private school.
Yeah, so that's the state of Texas, man. Texas making an early case for worst state of 2025. Yet again, man. It's crazy out here.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Maybe this episode is a sequel to last week because, again, we will be talking about how bad the Democrats are.
Yeah, but this time we're getting by camera with it.
Oh, we are getting by camera. We talked about Jeffries last week. We're talking about Schumer this week, and it's going to be an absolute mess. Later on in the show, we'll also have to talk about censorship.
Censorship?
Lots
of
crackdowns
censorship
on dissent. Really bad.
Yeah, disappearing people.
Yeah. Not great.
Yeah, disappearing green card holders, disappearing permanent residents.
Alien Enemies Act.
Alien Enemies Act. That's a good one.
It's actually remarkably bad out here, folks.
A list that a pro-Israel group compiled and sent to the Donald Trump of people they should deport.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of worried about being a dissident, but I am woker than ever before.
That's what I'm saying.
So I can't stop. It's just in my DNA.
Yeah, my
now.
third eye is wide open.
Yeah. But this week, we'll be talking about all kinds of bad stuff. But before we get into that, we got to do our typical shout-outs.
Of course.
And ask you all, beg you all, plead for you all to go and become a patron at patreon.com/InTheOfficePod.
Dude, I'm begging for it, really.
It's in the description. You can go become a patron. Also, if you are a patron, or if you're looking to be a patron, I'll remind you all to get signed up for our postcard program.
It's good.
We won't have another postcard until the end of next month, so about 6 weeks from now.
But I mean, folks, we're already cooking.
But we are already cooking. We got some cool stuff coming down the pipeline, and there were a few of you in the Discord that were upset you didn't get the last one. And I will say the last one banged.
It was our best work.
It was our best work.
Truly our best work.
We had several people tell us they really liked it. And if you are upset that you missed that, then you'll want to make sure you are in on the next one. Mm-hmm. That starts at the $5 tier on Patreon. If you're already on Patreon, you can sign up for it now. If you're not sure if you're signed up, just DM us. We can confirm.
Yeah, we'll put you on the list. Yeah,
you're
on
over
the
on
list.
Patreon. That is over on Patreon. Also, speaking of Patreon, I think next week we can have more news about our community art contest for decorating the studio.
Yeah,
I think that can.
I think next week we'll have more news in general.
Yeah, next week we'll have some more stuff to talk about in terms of the podcast. But
yeah, we got big things cooking, gang.
For now, that's still on the back burner and that's still cooking. But we'll get there next week. We did reach our goal, and we are very grateful. We couldn't do this without you, et cetera, et cetera.
I love you all non-parasocially. We're all real life friends. We're all kicking it, hanging it out every Sunday. You know what I'm saying?
How many patrons do we have? Like 400 something. All 400 something of you, I love intimately.
We're poly.
Yeah,
we're poly.
That's how I would describe it.
One big group, you know.
You can get some merch. You can get 40% off of Ground News. It's all down there in the description. Follow us on all social medias, especially if you're only following us on TikTok. Follow us elsewhere. I think March is the month TikTok's supposed to go away.
TikTok's going away April 5th.
And we just had some bangers this week.
We did have some. We've been doing kind of better than ever.
Yeah.
Since TikTok came back, we've been doing better than ever.
Thank you, President Trump.
Thank you, Donald Trump. I hope Donald Trump extends this again. That'd secure my vote for his third term.
Well, exactly. Not that he'll need it.
Of course,
Not that he'll need votes, I mean. But that is all the little updates we got today. But we also got to read our 5-star reviews, as we always do. It's very important.
Yes, we do. I think we're going to start off with our one Instagram review this week. Remember, if you're a Spotify listener and you've been denied access systemically from the review system, you can DM us a review on Instagram, and we will read it as if it was a 5-star review that you dropped on Apple.
That's right.
So this one from Lauren Chestnut, long overdue 5-star review. I'm a Spotify user, so sending my 5-star review here. First of all, I'd like to say that I obviously condemn Hamas and all forms of political violence. This is going to be very important.
As do I.
This is very important going into the future of this administration, as we'll talk about later. I've been a listener for just over 2 years now and have been a Sunday supremacist for 1. I've never left a review, but I figured now is a good time since this show is going to be one of the only things keeping me sane over the next 4 years, whether in the liberal hellscape of Colorado, like I am now, or the conservative hellscape of Texas, where I discovered the pod. You've always kept me informed without falling victim to the doomer mindset. Before my therapist told me to stop talking about politics with my conservative family for my own mental health, the holiday pregame episodes made me the least popular person at Thanksgiving, and for that, I am extremely grateful. Keep doing the Lord's work. In real life, non-parasocial friends also in their mid-20s. My real life non-parasocial friends also in their mid-20s. This is so true.
That's crazy. You got the devil and angel on your shoulder. You got the therapist, the angel, like, stop, you don't need to do this. And then me engaged on your other shoulder. Do it. You have to.
Do it like fucking Palpatine. You know what I'm saying?
It's important. It's important that you do it. This first one on Apple, 5-star review from Tyson Taco, new listener. They say, I started listening to this podcast that Rark Muffalo at Rark.Muffalo recommended, and I'm already hooked. I can't stand traditional news because it's so boring, but these two make it super entertaining. Seriously, not a boring moment. Highly recommend. Shout out to you and shout out to Rark Muffalo.
So Rark Muffalo out here evangelizing
dedicated
the
listener.
Gospel. You know what I'm saying?
Listener, yeah.
Shouts out. My highest esteems, highest praise. You get the Hiddo Medal of Honor. Medal of Freedom. That's the highest Patreon honor, right?
Medal of Love.
Medal of Love. Medal of Love and Intimacy. You know what I mean? My goodness.
That's us.
This next review by ASA 518. Poor but rich with quality media. I work 3 jobs and I'm a full-time student. Jesus Christ.
God damn.
I work in a gym and in a t-shirt printing shop. These episodes keep me sane while dealing with super mackie conservatives. I also work for the state attorney general's office in my state, Blue. We won't go after y'all for this, so you're good. Please keep producing this media so I can work more jobs and pay to be a Sunday supremacist. I condemn Hamas and Slotkin. I fuck with Bernie heavy, though. I agree.
I'm praying for you. 3 jobs plus full-time student.
I am praying
4
for
jobs.
You. And more.
Yeah, that's a lot.
This is worker's strongest soldier.
T-shirt printing shop, though, if you're unionized, let us know. Maybe we could use your service.
Hit us up for a second if you need some more clients. You know what I'm saying?
This next one here from Nicole Perry. All of the stars for this pod. They say, first and foremost, I condemn Hamas and all acts of political violence. I've recommended this podcast to all of the leftists in my life after being introduced to these guys by my woke mind virus boyfriend, shout out Dylan.
Shout out.
And cannot say enough good things about this pod. Jeremy and Gage never fail to bring good takes to the table and help make digesting the horror that is the weekly news cycle a bit easier. While I am a Sunday supremacist to support my boys financially, I grab a snack. While I am a Sunday supremacist to help support my boys financially, I grab a snack and tune in on Wednesdays, to watch these boys on YouTube so I can give them my full and undivided attention. Please give this podcast a listen. I promise it will be more than worthwhile, especially given the current state of politics under the Trump and Elon regime. To Jeremy and Gage, keep up the good work, and thank you for hosting the #1 and only geopolitical podcast that I and the rest of the community love so dearly. P.S. Dylan, it's time for you to write your 5-star review. Your girlfriend beat you to it.
I'm glad we have the girlfriend with leftist boyfriend instead of the girlfriend with conservative boyfriend. But if you are a girlfriend with a conservative boyfriend, I would implore you to leave a 5-star review because I need more easy targets.
And leave him. Now is not the time to be capitulating.
Because those households got to be going crazy right now.
You're a collaborationist.
You're no better than Chuck Schumer.
Exactly. Chuck Schumer's married to bipartisanship. You are wed, or maybe you're not married. You're together with, committed to a conservative, and that's bad.
My. Yeah. Whew, this last 5-star review. New listener from Just Trying. I've been seeing this podcast show up on my For You page on TikTok for a while now, but been listening for the last month. I appreciate your honest coverage, even if we might be cooked in general. Keep it up.
Cooked in general? I'm locked in.
I'm locked in personally. I'm frozen, really.
Yeah, I'm totally locked in. Thank you all for those 5-star reviews. And with that, I think it's time to get into the news coverage here.
Yeah.
We're going to start off talking about the government, as we often do.
We certainly will be talking about the government this episode. A whole lot of government news.
This is a government podcast, government and civics.
That's right. Yeah.
Education.
#1 administrative law podcast.
Absolutely. #1 followers of the rule of law.
Yep.
Those of you that got the postcard last month, or I guess it would have been this month.
Yeah.
Got the postcard recently.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. You're all enrolled and have graduated with a degree from Hiddo University.
That's
this is an educational podcast.
And it's good. You got a thing to put your name on it right there. Some of you graduated with 4.0.
Some of you graduated with debt to pay back.
Don't forget to donate to the Alumni Association at patreon.com.
Oh yeah, we'll be calling you nonstop. We'll be sending you mail in the future.
You got to put on events on your dime.
Give us a gift. Give a gift.
Your alma mater, we've done so much for you.
You can write it off on your taxes. Just kidding. That's not financial advice.
Yeah.
But do make sure to pay your taxes. It's coming up. I don't know if the IRS will still exist, but good to be in the good graces of this administration. Anyways, let's get into the news here. The biggest political debacle last week centered on the need to pass a funding bill before the government shut down. A shutdown would have meant, for those of you that might have forgotten, that all non-essential workers are furloughed, meaning they are basically told to go home.
Yeah. And
Congress can't do anything until a funding bill is passed, which I should say at the beginning here is preferable to what we have now for reasons we will explain in a little bit. But the basic argument that has been circling around this entire event is that the president gets to decide who the essential workers are.
Yeah.
And obviously that puts a lot of power into the hands of Donald Trump. But again, for reasons we'll explain, not all that distinct from what's already happening.
I was going to say, it's, it kind of sounds like he's already been doing that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Chuck Schumer, I'm sure the Democrats have a reasonable reason to maybe vote or not vote for this.
Yeah, and I'm sure they had a strategy going into it.
I'm sure they had a strategy that they didn't flip on at the last minute.
Yeah, we said we were going to be bicameral with the episode today, and I think we should start in the House to sort of in that spirit. So last week, a continuing resolution, or CR, passed in the House that was framed as a quote-unquote clean CR by Mike Johnson, but it was very much not clean. A clean CR a clean CR is just a continuing resolution that looks exactly the same as the year before. Funding levels don't change. It's just the same budget moving forward.
Yeah, same thing. Just keep it going. Keep it pushing.
This very much was not a clean CR. It was a dirty CR because it had a bunch of changes in the way that the funds would be allocated and just like straight up changes to funding numbers. So calling it a clean CR,
it's
like
just a lie.
Nothing means anything.
Just definitionally a lie.
Yeah. So some of those changes that we should go over. I have a list here, mostly kept in line with Biden-era level spending, but there were a few notable areas. First, it claws back $20 billion from the IRS that was in the Inflation Reduction Act.
We're getting rid of Joe Biden's dark army.
That's a lot of money that the IRS desperately needed.
That's like a quarter of the money that was allocated through the IRA.
Yes.
Like, didn't the IRS get $80 billion?
Yeah.
And didn't they cut $40 billion of that like last year or something like that?
I think so.
Okay.
The IRS is just losing all the money that it got, just completely drawing back all the progress we made in that regard.
Nice.
The bill also cut $1 billion from DC's budget for no reason. Worthy to note that Congress is like the city council for DC. You know, like in Detroit, we have the Detroit City Council, but for DC, the city council is just Congress, I'm pretty sure. Or Congress approves their funding and then the DC works it out themselves with the mayor. I don't know exactly the government structure.
Yeah, it's like how you tell the Energy and Commerce Committee to like find money to cut from Medicaid when you pass the budget. You know what I mean? Like you give DC the budget and then they figure out how to spend it.
Yeah, so Congress has a lot of power over DC is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And they just took $1 billion away from DC for no real reason, which I'm guessing will result in like firing teachers.
Yeah, probably.
It's probably what's going to happen here. Certainly not going to fire police officers. So DC losing about $1 billion. There was also some cuts to healthcare stuff and some local transportation projects.
Transportation safety projects.
Yeah, $2 billion for that. In total, this dirty CR, cuts $13 billion from non-defense spending and then increases defense spending by $6 billion. All of that's bad.
Yeah.
It's not a good bill.
No.
I don't think even Chuck Schumer, who we'll hate on a lot this episode, said it wasn't a good bill. But most importantly, and this is why we'll argue Democrats should have absolutely voted against this bill, all of them. Most importantly, the continuing resolution does not contain the usual spending directives for money that's allocated from Congress. This basically gives Trump a blank check to spend money how he sees fit in each of the categories that it's allocated.
Usually you are supposed to say like, hey, this money has to go where we said it goes because that's the powers that Congress has been given by the Constitution. Number one constitutional law podcast. Number one Constitution lovers on this podcast. You know what I'm saying? Congress spends the money.
Power of the purse.
Power to purse.
You learn that in your high school government class.
Yeah, we have the Impoundment Control Act that's supposed to stop the executive from just not spending the money that Congress has appropriated.
Yeah.
Trump's not supposed to be able to do that. They took the guardrails off the legislation so that Trump can choose where this money goes. Or maybe Elon Musk can decide to just cut contracts more radically now with the CR. Yeah. Which is an important piece to consider when we talk about Chuck Schumer, who we're going to hate on a lot.
Yeah. Impoundment Act was passed under Nixon, who was trying to just not spend money that Congress allocated. Yeah. Congress got together and said, hey, dog, you got to spend money that we allocated. And, there's a lot of parallels to Nixon for this Trump administration in terms of like the use of executive power and the sort of extension of executive power. So altogether, not good. This continuing resolution, it's just a blank check for Trump to continue doing what he's doing. It's a stamp of approval from Congress. And the important distinction here that we need to make is that in the House, of course, any bill needs to pass with just a simple majority, right? 218, Mike Johnson got to that. Only one Democrat defected. Jared Golden, I think, is his name. Stupid motherfucker. That's all we need to know.
There's always a couple.
He didn't even get Hakeem Jeffries.
That's what I'm saying.
They lost Hakeem Jeffries.
When you're worse than Hakeem Jeffries?
Yeah.
Dog, what's going on? Who are you?
You lost Hakeem Jeffries.
What wicked constituents are you serving?
Yeah. And one Republican defected as well, Thomas Massey from I want to say Massachusetts, but I might just be thinking that because his last name is Massey.
And,
so I don't know.
Keep in mind for the discussion later, Trump immediately threatened to primary him.
Yes.
Trump immediately started lining up primary challenges, started trying to think about funding to primary this guy because he didn't vote for this, even though it already passed.
Yeah. So the CR needed a strict majority in the House, which it got because Democrats don't control the House. We expected this to happen. Republicans kept their coalition together. Yeah. It was fine. Passed mostly along party line votes. But the key that we need to remember for continuing resolutions is that they need 60 votes in the Senate. If anybody's keeping score, you'll know that Republicans do not have 60 votes in the Senate to end the filibuster. They only have 53. So they needed Democrats to sign on to this bill to make it happen, meaning Democrats had the power to stop this bill from proceeding and to functionally shut down the government until they get guarantees that Trump would listen to Congress in terms of spending directives.
All they had to do is get their shit together.
Yes.
All they had to do is whip their members.
However, in the end, 10 Democrats signed on to this continuing resolution, with Chuck Schumer leading the pack after signaling that he would oppose the measure. He switched up. He said the week before that they would oppose the measure, that this has basically no guarantees, no guardrails for people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And then he switched up with his reasoning being that, one, Republicans wanted a shutdown, which is not true for reasons that we'll talk about. And two, that a shutdown would give Trump more of a chance to do his power grab, which he is, of course, already doing.
Like, I don't understand where he was thinking. I don't understand what the fuck he was thinking when it came to all this. And it's like, specifically, Schumer went on, and I think on CNN, and said, quote, under a shutdown, the Trump administration would have full authority to deem whole agencies, programs, and personnel non-essential, furloughing staff with no promise that they would ever be rehired. Mm-hmm. That was his justification that he was saying, because everybody was mad at him. CNN was mad at him. MSNBC was mad at him.
He lost Slotkin.
He lost Alyssa Slotkin.
He lost Slotkin.
There was a coalition of resistance libs aligned with Bernie to oppose Chuck Schumer. You've lost everyone at that point.
You've got centrist Democrats in the House telling AOC to primary Chuck Schumer.
What the that doesn't happen in like a sane world. No. That doesn't happen in a world where everything is going right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that's when it goes right, but for like the wrong reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not an excuse. Trump is already doing this.
Yep.
And that's the most important like thing to consider, is that every single concern that Chuck Schumer brings up is something that Trump is already doing.
And the CR explicitly makes it easier for him to continue to do this stuff, right?
Because it's just a slush fund. Because it's money without direction.
It's money without directives within it. And the key with Trump freezing all federal funding and, not paying out to medical research and stuff before was that those spending directives were a part of the previous continuing resolution, meaning there was at least a little bit of legal authority to force him to spend that money. Mm-hmm. Within this CR, that doesn't exist. It's gone.
Yeah.
There is no like legal process to get him to spend the money the way that Congress wants them to, because there's no directives in there to make him do it.
So it's like, what are you worried about?
They've lost like the legal justification for it. And of course, Democrats aren't brave enough to muster any other kind of force. So there's no way to get what they want.
Everything you were worried about, you just codified into allowing him to do.
Yeah.
Like, you're just explicitly letting him do it. You are rolling over. This is the one piece of leverage that the Senate Democrats have. This is the one piece of leverage that Democrats in Congress have.
Yeah.
And they just chose not to exercise it?
Yeah, and there's a few other notes here. First of all, if Trump's violating the Constitution, why would you sign on to funding his government?
Uh-huh.
Like, the argument from people like Chuck Schumer is that Trump is violating the Constitution. He's done a litany of unconstitutional things that he should be stopped from doing. Why are you funding his government at all? Like, just on a moral point, even if we're not talking about the process here, even if this was a clean CR, why would you sign on to this at all if Trump is doing unconstitutional things?
Yeah. You should be protesting that government.
Yeah.
You should not want that government to be able to function. Honestly, it would be morally good for that government to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And it's like Chuck Schumer kept going on. And in these interviews, like the one I think with Chris Wright's the CNN or MSNBC guy, right? That's got a show.
Yeah.
He was doing an interview with Chris Wright, and Chris Wright was pressing the fuck out of him because even Chris Wright's like, yo, this is a bad move, dog.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I've been through shutdowns, and this isn't a good CR. This isn't a clean CR. This is a really bad bill, but a shutdown would be worse.
How? Literally how?
I think everyone is failing to, I don't want to say failing to understand. I think he's failing to understand why what Trump is doing right now is the same thing.
Mm-hmm. The government's been getting shut down since January 20th.
And it's so hard to just come up with the words for this move, because this feels like when Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin voted down all of the good things in Build Back Better. Mm-hmm. This feels like the Democrats, like the rotating villain theory.
Yeah,
everybody always says they always pick one or two Democrats to be the guy to take the fall for it when the rest don't want to do it. But man, it's so bad.
There is sort of a straight through line you can draw here from Sinema and Manchin not signing on to Joe Biden's waning popularity to Trump getting reelected after Joe Biden drops out. And now Democrats just utterly failing to use the filibuster that's still intact, by the way, that they could have used to stop this from happening. It's just like, I don't know, it's collaborationist, but that even doesn't feel like the right term here. It's like Chuck Schumer is the ferryman on the river Styx, and he's driving us down the river to our death. You know what I mean? He's taking us to the underworld.
For no reason.
For no reason.
For no fucking reason at all. And he keeps saying, Trump wants a shutdown. He keeps saying the GOP wants a shutdown. Why would they be threatening to primary Thomas Massie after he voted no for this if they want a shutdown?
Yeah, that was my next point, is that Trump and the Republicans did not want a government shutdown.
Yeah.
Trump explicitly threatened Thomas Massie, a Republican who defected, with a primary. He thanked Chuck Schumer after he voted yes. And before the House voted on the bill, J.D. Vance was talking to the Republican caucus saying that we will lose momentum if the government shuts down.
He explicitly
Republicans
said,
didn't want it.
Do not let the government shut down.
Yeah.
He said, we will be blamed for the shutdown. You cannot be a Democrat and go out there and say, oh, we're going to get blamed for the shutdown if we let the government shut down by not passing the CR, because the conservatives themselves were conceding the fact that they would be blamed for it.
Mm-hmm.
The conservatives, if they wanted a shutdown, could just do a shutdown. They don't need to play some political game where they get you to do it. And frankly, if the situation that conservatives were trying to like push forth, assuming they maybe wanted a shutdown, they could have just put forth a explicitly dirty CR with a bunch of egregious measures in there that Democrats could have never possibly voted for. To get the shutdown and try and blame it on them. But they weren't even willing to do that because they didn't want the shutdown.
There wasn't even a facade of it,
If they have all the power.
Yeah.
If they wanted a shutdown, they could have got a fucking shutdown. Trump could have not signed the bill and got a fucking shutdown if he wanted a shutdown.
Yeah, and like shutdown politics are complicated, you know what I mean? You never know who voters are actually going to blame.
Yeah.
But there was such a unique opportunity for Democrats to shut down the government, make the case that what Trump is doing is unconstitutional, and then say we will reopen the government when we have a president that is abiding by the rule of law, our Constitution, and so on. But they didn't do it. Like, this was the unique opportunity to be on the right side in the voters' eyes of a government shutdown, and they were too afraid to do it. At least the 10 Democrats that, the traitorous 10, at least those were the ones that weren't brave enough to do it. And it's just, it's despicable, it's terrible, and I don't know. There's no words to really describe. I'm not even disappointed. It's just like, Jesus Christ, man.
And it's like, I want to say I'm surprised, but like, am I?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, the fact that he said he was going to vote no. Chuck Schumer said he was going to vote no. And then at the 11th hour, switched up, said he was going to vote yes. Everybody gets mad at him. And then he whips the 10 most evil Democrats together to somehow vote for it. He didn't even need 10. He only needed 8.
Yeah, and I have a list of the 10 that, the traitorous 10 in here somewhere if I can find it. But one of them was Angus King, an independent, which is like whatever.
One of them was Maggie Hassan.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. He caucuses with the Democrats. But here's the list. It's Chuck Schumer, of course, Dick Durbin, Catherine Cortez Masto, John Fetterman, Kirsten Gillibrand from New York. That's the other New York senator. Yeah. So New York's batting 1,000 here. Maggie Hassan, Gary Peters.
What the fuck, man?
Brian Schatz, Janine Shaheen, and Angus King, the independent who caucuses with the Democrats. So that was the 10 senators that are sending us down the river Styx to our death.
What is it? With the exception of Gary Peters and I guess John Fetterman, all these people are from like deep blue states, right? Like, isn't it like Connecticut, New York? Like both senators from Connecticut, 2 senators from New York, maybe Maryland too.
And Brian Schatz is from Hawaii.
Yeah. So it's like Democrats.
Brian Schatz was I thought he was a progressive. That's what he cosplays as, at least.
I mean, John Fetterman ran as a progressive.
Yeah. Yeah, but John Fetterman is special.
Yeah, John Fetterman's a special case of just, I don't know, having a stroke and then turning evil.
Yeah, it's just like, it's the whole concept of you give an inch, they take a mile, right? You can't give an inch, right? You give an inch, they don't like, I don't know, work along with you. They don't decide they're going to be bipartisan. You give an inch, they take a mile.
Yeah.
You can't let them do that.
And that's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, speaking to the idea that avoiding the shutdown would stop Trump from gutting the federal government, this idea was stupid before Chuck Schumer said it. It was stupid when he said it, and it was certainly stupid after he said it, because Trump was already doing those things before the continuing resolution was he talked about, during the continuing resolution negotiations, and right after the continuing resolution passed. During his first week in office, he began shutting down USAID and doing massive layoffs. We've talked about that extensively. This week, during the CR fiasco, Trump started to make good on his promises to gut the Department of Education by announcing layoffs for half of the department's workforce. Half of the Department of Education was fired this week. And you're telling me that a government shutdown, or whether or not we have a government shutdown, is what's stopping him from stopping these agencies?
Yeah.
He just gutted the Department of Education, and he fired all of the workers who staffed 7 of the offices of the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights, 12 regional offices. He got rid of over half of the civil rights offices for the Department of Education. These are the places that are responsible for handling discrimination lawsuits.
Yeah, and I'll remind you, that's one of like the key components of the Department of Education.
Yes.
That's one of like the main things they do, is ensure people aren't being discriminated in education, whether it's K through 12 or higher education.
Yeah.
Like that is one of the main things that the DOE does.
Yeah.
And now it's not going to be able
to. The gutting of the Department of Education happened while Schumer was saying, oh no, this is letting the continuing resolution go through is what's going to stop him from dismantling agencies. It's right in front of your face.
And like there was no guarantee in the CR that would stop Trump.
Exactly.
And, like explicitly, like the main reason that the CR was so bad, other than like defunding DC for some reason, was that there was no guarantees that Trump would be made to stop.
Yeah,
there was nothing. In fact, Republicans intentionally removed the directives to make it harder to stop him.
There's no way you can spin this. And then right after the night that the continuing resolution passed the Senate, Trump signed an executive order calling for the radical shrinking of 7 executive agencies. Here are the 7. The Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service. That works to mediate labor issues. This is another hit to union organizing, another hit to laborers, another hit to workers. The Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars, the Institute of Museum and Library Services.
Awesome.
The U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness. Guess what they do?
I don't think I can.
Guess what they do? The Community Development Financial Institutes Fund, the Minority Business Development Agency, and the U.S. Agency for Global Media. In the executive order, Trump directed these agencies to reduce their operations, eliminate all functions that aren't statutorily mandated, and to, quote, reduce the performance of their statutory functions and associated personnel to the minimum presence and functions required by law.
Yep. And guess what the minimum function is now that the CR passed? Basically nothing.
Nothing, because he doesn't have to worry about impoundment.
Yep.
He could just not give them any money. Yeah. And it's like, what is the minimum function statutorily required by law is already incredibly vague. Because I'm sure the law just says something like establishes agency to do this.
Yeah.
You can argue that one guy can do that.
Yeah.
Like, this is fucked up. And before, during, and after Chuck Schumer's point, he was proved wrong every single step of the way. Yeah. What is stopping him?
Yeah.
Everything he was worried about happening has already been happening, continued to happen. Oh my goodness. And the one argument that I was kind of sympathetic to whenever we get into government shutdown talk is that this is bad for federal workers.
Yeah, and it would be. None of them get paid.
None of them get paid. You get furloughed. You're whether or not you can pay rent kind of goes up in the air.
Yeah.
And I'm very sympathetic to that because like not only are the optics of that bad, the optics of a shutdown are always bad, but like the material conditions of these workers' lives are bad.
Yeah.
But what kind of clawed me back from thinking that Chuck Schumer had any sort of point when he was talking about this, or John Fetterman had any sort of point when he was talking about this, was when the largest federal workers union endorsed the shutdown.
Yeah.
Everett Kelly, the president of the American Federation of Governmental Employees, which is the largest union for employees of the federal government, 800,000 members, said earlier this week, quote, with thousands of federal workers either fired, placed on administrative leave, or at immediate risk of losing their jobs, AFGE members have concluded that a widespread government shutdown has been underway since January 20th and will continue to spread whether senators vote yes or no on the CR.
There you go.
AFGE knows that DOJ will dramatically expand its termination of federal workers and double down on its campaign to make federal agencies fail.
Yeah. The workers themselves.
The workers themselves wanted this, man. Mm-hmm. There was no excuse. You can't even use the typical shutdown excuse.
Yeah.
There's nothing, man. It's just Democrats sucking.
And I get that you're like, I mean, it is true that it's between two bad options, right? Like a shutdown's not good, the CR wasn't good, but it's just wholly a miscalculation. And I don't even think it's a miscalculation. I think it was like intentional, his switch up.
Yeah.
Either through incompetence, which, Chuck Schumer, incompetent guy, or because he's malicious, and I think it's a little bit of both.
I think he's malicious. I think it's absolutely he's malicious.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk this week about the stock market falling the NASDAQ fell 1,000 points in one day.
Yeah, Trump lost all of the gains since he won election.
Yeah, Elon Musk lost all the wealth he gained when his wealth doubled after Trump won.
Yeah, and they got nervous about it. Because like Trump's out there saying like oh, it's not a recession, like oh, it's not that big of a deal, but internally that he cares about the Dow Jones and shit like that.
Absolutely,
he's a business guy.
I saw
he
that
cares.
Tweet circulating that Trump tweeted out a while ago, if the NASDAQ ever falls 1,000 points, or the Dow ever falls 1,000 points in one day, that president should be immediately impeached.
I think it was under Obama, yeah.
Yeah, well, of course.
Barack Obama, yeah.
Barack Obama, black guy Democrat.
Yeah, exactly.
So bad at the economy, Republican good at the economy.
Exactly.
This is a far-reaching truth that everyone knows.
Yeah, and if the government did shut down, the markets would have fallen further because it's more uncertainty injected into the economy.
And so it's like,
on top of the tariff shit.
It was just bad for Chuck Schumer's portfolios. It was just bad for him and his friends' portfolios because he's going and partying with the Wall Street dudes.
Yeah,
doing coke and touching the Bulls' balls for good luck.
Well, and that's why both the New York senators voted for it.
Fucking ridiculous.
Because they're both they are both senators of the state that has Wall Street, and they got tapped on the shoulder by wealthy interests. And it's like there's always this question when Democrats do dumb shit if it's like wickedness or weakness, to use a Kendrick Lamar line. In this case, I think it's a prime example of the Democratic Party being torn between doing something that's good for the working class, or at least showcases a fight for the working class, and adhering to capital interests, right?
Yeah.
For Republicans, continuing with their agenda and adhering to capital interests are the same thing.
Yep.
Right? The capitalists are cool if, Republicans are super anti-immigrant, because at the end of the day, they're still getting tax cuts. They're still going to be able to operate their businesses, and it's going to be fine overall. But Democrats, for a long time, have had this tension between representing business owners, which their party relies on for donations, and representing the working class, which ostensibly they're supposed to represent with things like, raising the minimum wage, paid paternity leave, and, sort of universal health care and those kinds of populist policies. And here, because it's fucking Chuck Schumer, the capitalists won out again. He got tapped on the shoulder and they said, don't let the government shut down. And he didn't.
And it's like, again, I'll remind you all, the quote that's been going around ever since Kamala Harris lost, the Chuck Schumer quote where he said, for every blue collar worker we lose, we'll gain 2 in the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy that's leading the party right now.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise that we're here.
Yeah. And he was also one of the guys to advocate for repealing the Glass-Steagall Act, one of the the landmark antitrust laws of FDR's time, I think, right? The 30s. Great guy all around.
Good guy, Chuck. You can always count on this guy to make the wrong decision. I'm gonna take him to the casino with me and play roulette. When he goes black, I go red. Vice versa. I'll win big. I'll win so big that I will change my class interest and I'll actually start to fuck with them again.
Exactly. I'll become friends with him.
I'll become friends with him and be like, oh yeah, dude, yeah, the shutdown would actually be really bad.
But I'm always gonna keep in mind how bad he is at making decisions.
True.
I'm never going to side with him, but I'll start to fuck with his policy decisions.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Look, at the end of the day, I know Democrats are feckless, but it looked like most of them, almost all of them, were willing to put up a fight here. And the last thing I'll say on the government shutdown bit is that I get it. Government shutdown politics is complicated. Democrats could have gotten blamed for all of it, and that might have looked bad. But we are so far out from the midterms or any election that's going to matter that now is the time to get in the mud and start fucking slinging.
It's too early for those consequences to matter.
Get dirty, dog. Do whatever you got to do. Be unpopular.
Every turn, whether or not the Democrats have the Senate, whether or not the Democrats have the House, whether or not the Democrats have the presidency, or conservatives control all of those things, the GOP threatens shutdowns every time there's a budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is the one time where they explicitly did not want to shut down. And you should hear that and your ears perk up. Mm-hmm. You should hear that and think instantly, we're shutting down the government.
That's something you can do, yeah.
Especially when you get the okay from the Federal Workers Union.
And the deal now is like, okay, we have this CR, I think it was 6 months or something like that. They're going to have to go through this process again. But before that, we're going to get a reconciliation package.
Yeah.
And Democrats can't stop that.
Yeah.
They only need 51 votes in the Senate. Of course, they have 53 senators. It's going to pass in the House. Democrats have no leverage, and that's what's going to really be disastrous. And we've paved the way for that.
Yeah.
That reconciliation bill will pass, and it's going to be easy for them to do it.
And it's like the only hope of the reconciliation bill not passing is if, 4...
Chip Roy goes crazy in the House.
4 fucking senators get balls, or, 4 House representatives get balls. Yeah. Chip Roy stands on his principles when it comes to debt.
Yeah. That's the only way that can be stopped. Democrats have no ability. This was like the first time and the only time for a while that they could have done something to disrupt the process and slow Trump down, and they decided not to.
And it's like Chip Roy is like our greatest hope and also our greatest fear as well. Mm-hmm. When they were talking about the House budget, he said, I don't want $2 trillion in cuts. I want $2.5 trillion in cuts from mandatory spending.
Yeah.
He said we need to take more Medicaid away. We need to take more Social Security away. We need to gut Medicare.
Yeah.
So we either have to rely on that or that he somehow sees God, like Mitch McConnell did.
Unlikely.
Yeah.
He's too young for that. He can still walk around. This episode of Head in the Office is brought to you by Ground News.
Breaking news can often involve a whirlwind of misinformation, and if you want to get to the heart of a story quickly, our friends over at Ground News can help.
Ground News is a resource you can get on your phone or your computer that collects headlines and stories from around the world and puts them in one place to allow you to compare coverage, check political biases, and see how each publication is funded.
Using Ground News, you can see who's reporting on each story, what their political leanings are, and you can even see news that is going unreported by the right or the left. Ground News offers you an individual breakdown of the content that you've consumed so that you can be aware of your own media diet. Overall, it is a great tool to help understand how narratives are emerging on both sides of the political spectrum in real time.
If you want to help out the show, which we know you want to do, and get a discount on Ground News, go to check.ground.news/headintheoffice for 40% off. Link is also in the description. Their Vantage plan offers all the features we referenced and more.
Special thanks to Ground News for sponsoring this podcast. Now back to the show.
Moving on now to maybe one of the most chilling stories
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah, I think so.
We've had lots of bad things happen. Certainly all, the spending cuts and then this last debacle with the Democrats being totally feckless. But this is, a step.
This is like a unique, not a unique evil. It happened many times throughout history, but every time it's happened throughout history, it's been unambiguously evil.
Yeah. Disappearing people is bad. I condemn that.
Yeah, disappearing people for disappearing political dissidents. Worse. Yeah. I condemn that harder.
So you can probably anticipate what we're talking about here. And we're a little bit late to this news because it happened. The news broke last Sunday after we were done recording.
You know how the news treats us.
So we are a week late to this for patrons and even later for people that are listening on Wednesday or afterwards. But I think this story is so important and so chilling that we can't not talk about it.
Yeah, the enormity of it all.
I think this is like the biggest story yet.
Yeah.
And Trump's done a lot of crazy shit, but this is terrible. Like we've gotten the ASMR ICE videos. That was pretty bad. Mass deportations are underway, certainly, all these spending cuts and whatnot, but this is remarkably bad.
And it's like, I was always clairvoyant and knew that Trump was going to be worse than Biden on the issue of Gaza. However, I did not know that it was going to get this bad this quick.
This quick, yeah. We're only 2 months in.
This is a step that even I didn't anticipate.
Yeah. So we're talking about the arrest of Mahmoud Khalil. So just a little bit of background for those that haven't heard the story yet. Last Saturday, Columbia University student Mahmoud Khalil was arrested and detained by ICE agents in his university apartment. For background, Khalil is a green card holder, a permanent resident, and he's a graduate student at Columbia who participated in those pro-Palestine protests that we were talking about last summer. I'm sure we all recall those encampments that popped up, focusing on getting their universities to defund from Israel and, military operations and funding the military-industrial complex. Khalil says himself that he acted as a spokesperson but didn't engage directly in the Columbia encampments. ICE agents waited for him outside of his apartment, threatening to deport him by saying that his student visa was being revoked for what he did with the pro-Palestine protests. Yeah. But then he said, or his wife said, that he has a green card for permanent residency, and then an ICE agent shifted, and they said, okay, we're revoking that instead. And it's notable here,
which is insane,
that ICE was here on orders not from DHS, which is the department that they exist under, but from the State Department, and they were officers in plain clothes. Yeah. So they showed up looking like pedestrians on orders from Marco Rubio.
And it's like insane. Homeboy pulled up in a fucking Marvel t-shirt. Like, they would not fuck with you.
Yeah.
Bro pulled up on a t-shirt with the Avengers on the front.
You're the villain.
You're the villain. Yeah. You're the guy that Captain America beats up.
Once again, no redeeming qualities to an ICE agent.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, absolutely none.
They're like super cops, but like bad.
No, they're, I condemn the police ACAB and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there are some police officers that are, genuinely good people. If you join ICE, there's no redeeming qualities.
There's hate in your heart.
You are just a bad person.
I don't know, because it's like you can get around the idea of like, oh yeah, the rule of law and whatnot. Like, yeah, I want to help protect people. You're not really protecting people in ICE.
Yeah.
You're not protecting people any more than like a cop would in the best functions of that job.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just doing the bad shit. And
evil.
I couldn't put aside the idea that this dude shows up in a fucking superhero shirt to go do one of the most evil things that I think has happened this year.
Yeah, when you do a plainclothes arrest, you can dress however you want.
And it's like, oh, we're here to revoke your student visa. I don't have that. Oh, okay, then we're here to revoke whatever you have. The level of incompetence with this operation is crazy. Yeah. If you're going to, I don't know, arrest and disappear somebody, you should at least have to know what they got going on. You should at least have to do your fucking due diligence before you just bust in there.
Our Gestapo is so mid.
Yeah.
Our version of the brown shirts, man. So the Trump administration's claim here is that Khalil and other protesters supported Hamas and therefore forfeited their rights to be students in the United States. They claim that Khalil was circulating these pro-Hamas flyers, doing pro-Hamas social media posts. We know by this point that pro-Hamas can just be saying free Palestine.
Yeah.
Or just, wearing a fucking, what's the scarf called? I forget.
A keffiyeh?
Yeah. Wearing a keffiyeh is like tantamount to being pro-Hamas at this point. Like, those are the allegations.
Well, I mean, isn't that kind of literally what it is? The House last year passed the bill to say that criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
They altered the government's definition of anti-Semitism to include criticism of Israel.
I think Slotkin voted for that.
Like, I can't say I'm surprised. I can't say I'm surprised, man.
But yeah, being pro-Palestine is being pro-Hamas in the eyes of Donald Trump and his administration.
Why are our senators acting like fucking solid blue stronghold senators? I don't fucking understand, man. Yeah. Gary Peterson Slotkin. You lost Slotkin on the fucking CR bill. I digress.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I digress.
And now you might think, ICE agents showing up saying we're taking the student visa, then him saying, I have a green card, which is, offers more legal protections.
Permanent residency is like a step below citizenship.
Yeah, and then them saying like, oh, you have a green card, we're going to revoke that. You'd think that'd be like a historic fuck up.
Yeah.
But Marco Rubio doubled down on this when he was pressed on it, and he said, quote, "We will be revoking the visas and or green cards of Hamas supporters in America so they can be deported." So basically just saying, doesn't matter if you're here legally, doesn't matter if you haven't committed a crime, if you support Hamas, which translation just means you support Palestine or you're an anti-Zionist, we will deport you even if you've done nothing wrong.
Good thing I condemn Hamas at the beginning and end of every episode.
Well, good thing I'm a citizen, but I don't even know if that fucking matters
It won't.
Yeah.
Frankly, it won't.
You know what I mean? And to be clear, Khalil hasn't been charged with a crime. Not only has he not committed a crime, right? He hasn't been convicted by an immigration court or anything like that. He has not been charged with an actual crime.
And it's like everything up until now is already insane.
Yeah.
All of the things that happen now already just like represent radical incompetence and malice. Never attribute to malice what you can attribute to ignorance. I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely both. The Venn diagram's a circle right here. But you're telling me that he was disappeared and detained, and you're not even going to pretend to charge him with a crime?
Yeah. No, there's no habeas corpus.
That's bold to a level that I could not have possibly anticipated from this administration.
Yeah.
You would at least say they're going to charge him with stochastic terrorism or something. But no.
Yeah. No, there's no charge right now. He's just being held currently in Louisiana, which feels intentional.
Yeah.
There are ICE detention facilities in New York, which is where Columbia University is, which is where he was living. He's in Louisiana. That feels intentional.
I think his lawyer wasn't able to contact him for a while too, or like they weren't letting him talk to his lawyer.
Yeah, the agents would just hang up on the lawyer.
The lawyer said he has a green card, and they said, I'm going in a tunnel.
I'll be clear, like, if you commit a crime while you're here on a green card, ICE does have legal authority to begin deportation proceedings.
Yeah.
Say what you will about that. Like, that is a legal thing that they can do. But again, Khalil's not been charged with a crime. He was just extrajudicially detained. And there's no habeas corpus, meaning like he hasn't been offered a list of charges that he's being accused of.
He wasn't read his rights.
Yeah, exactly. Like habeas corpus is like fundamental to, freedom, due process. He hasn't been afforded any of those rights.
If a cop doesn't read you your rights, the case can be dismissed.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even matter what you did. Your case can be totally dismissed, but dude can pull up in a fucking Marvel t-shirt and just disappear you, and that's totally fine.
And I think over this past week, Khalil's not the only one to either be detained or threatened with detention.
No. Specifically at Columbia University, shit has been popping off real bad because that's the university that Trump has chosen to like single out and target with a list of demands.
Yeah.
I know it was just reported by the Middle East Eye that Columbia University expelled, suspended, and revoked degrees of 22 students that hadn't been involved in the protests.
Revoked degrees is crazy.
Revoked degrees is insane. What do you mean you revoked a degree?
They just spent $500,000 at your institution.
That's
You're
what I'm
revoking
saying.
a degree.
Like you can't do that. It's like, you can't take away my knowledge. Like, you know what I mean? Like a degree is kind of like a certificate of knowledge, whatever.
Yeah, I think the School of Journalism or something like that at Columbia was telling their students, like, don't speak out. We can't protect you.
That's insane.
Yeah, like you might get your visa revoked, or you might get your green card or visa revoked. You might get deported. You might just lose your degree and lose all the money.
And I think like a significant portion of students at Columbia are international students as well.
Of course.
It's a fucking Ivy League.
Yeah. And it's like the Trump administration does this. Their reasoning is that this guy is pro-Hamas. Things have been escalating sharply, and this is clearly an escalation. But if he can deport somebody merely because they have a green card, and not just deport, but like disappear somebody without charges, they can do it to anybody. And Trump has been specifically pressuring Columbia University. I think they threatened to withdraw like $400 million of funding.
All federal funding.
All federal funding from Columbia University if they don't like let their ICE agents do whatever they want. If institutions aren't willing to stand up for him, he can continue to do this to whoever he wants. Green card, student visa, or even if you're a U.S. citizen, I think we'll get to that point eventually. And if you are a Republican or a conservative that was freaking out about quote-unquote censorship under Joe Biden, you should be fucking appalled at what Donald Trump has been doing.
Oh, yeah, where are all the free speech absolutists?
Yeah, you should be completely disgusted at what Donald Trump has been doing. Khalil has not been charged with a crime. He has not been proven to have committed any crime. He was just completely disappeared. And all for being a political dissident. His only crime that he committed, is being a political dissident. And Trump disappeared him. If you care about censorship, if you care about the First Amendment at all, you should be freaked the fuck out by this. Fascism happens step by step. You don't wake up one day and you're in a fascist regime. It happens over time, and it happens because people aren't fighting back. And if you care at all about freedom in this country, you should be freaked out by what Trump is doing, and you should be actively fighting back. Doesn't matter if you're a conservative, if you're a centrist, if you're a liberal, if you're a leftist, whoever you are, you should be mortified that the Trump administration can get away with this, and that they are actively doubling down on their ability to just disappear people who advocate for a position that does not align with the State Department.
And it's like, they're not just going to stop here. Like,
no.
They're not just going to stop at the green card holders. Every single step that this administration has taken since this dude was sworn in on, January 20th, has been to push boundaries and see what he can get away with.
Yep.
If you let him get away with this, he will necessarily go on to continue and escalate and do more things and continue to push the new boundaries that are set. That's just what's happening.
Fascism. Yeah.
It's what's going on, man. And you can see it. It's what he's doing with these executive agencies. Every single thing he's done has been to push the boundaries of evil that the president can commit.
Yeah. And if this isn't a step towards authoritarianism, then nothing is.
Yeah.
Like, if this isn't the thing that rings alarm bells in your head, then I'm not sure what will.
And it's like, can't you, like, aren't there actual charges you can bring to, like, people who are supporting terrorists?
Yeah. Like, if you are receiving money or giving money to, like, a terrorist designated
which
organization,
they're trying to allege,
then, yeah, of course you can get in trouble for that. But there's no evidence of that.
Yeah.
He was the only thing he's being accused of, or the only thing that they have proven, is that he's a political dissident, which isn't a crime. He has First Amendment rights. Being a green card holder, permanent resident in this country, you can't just disappear people under our laws. And the pretext is that Trump cares about anti-Semitism and that this administration is cracking down on anti-Semitism. But one of the first things that Trump did was pardon one of the guys that went to January 6th, who was there wearing a Camp Auschwitz hoodie. They don't give a fuck about anti-Semitism. Elon Musk hit a goddamn Sig Heil.
Yeah, twice.
They don't care about anti-Semitism at all. They are just disappearing political dissidents that they think are a threat to their State Department policy. That's all it is.
It's kind of scary out here, folks.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary. And what do you mean you can revoke degrees?
Yeah, revoking degrees.
It's fucking insane.
Should I be worried about that?
Should I be worried? I condemn Hamas.
Yeah.
So I think I'm good.
It's just like, it's a green card holder. He's here legally. We were saying before he got elected that in his mass deportation scheme, people that are here legally would get scooped up. But now this is just unambiguously what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to send, I don't remember exactly where Khalil is from, maybe Syria or something like that. But they're trying to get him out of the country again just for being a political dissident. And,
that's like Russia shit.
Maybe this isn't alarming as many people as I think it should, because, he's not a white guy. He's not a natural-born U.S. citizen.
I think a lot of people believe that he was actually getting out there and supporting Hamas.
Yeah.
Because it's when you talk about the campus protests in general, like, I think a lot, the narrative that, like, Jewish students were scared, went pretty far. You know what I mean? I think people believe that. And I mean, to an extent, yeah, I guess some Jewish students were scared, even though there wasn't any signs of widespread genuine anti-Semitism going on campus.
Jewish students also were participating in the encampments.
Jewish students were some of the biggest participants in the encampments, yada, yada, yada. But it's like, I just don't think people understand the issue. And part of it's because he was a brown guy.
And it's also
part of it's because, like, the Palestinian issue doesn't go very much. Like, it doesn't get a lot of good media coverage.
But also, like, supporting Hamas is legal.
Yeah.
You can get out there and use your First Amendment right to say, I support Hamas. I condemn them.
I do.
I would not get out there and say I support Hamas, because I don't. But even if Khalil got out there and said, I think what Hamas did on October 7th is good, that is within the boundaries of his First Amendment rights. He can do that. Yeah, he can't give money to them, but there's no evidence that he was.
Yeah.
So it's even that is fucking nonsense. But the point I was trying to get at is, like, I can't understand it, but I can sort of see how a regular American wouldn't give a shit about this. But maybe when Trump starts, disappearing good suburban white men, people will start to give a fuck,
Once he starts supporting podcasters.
But at that point, it's too late. Like, the poem is, he came for the socialists.
And I did nothing,
I didn't say anything.
He came for me and nobody could stand
exactly.
up. Yeah.
Right? Like, the poem is that this happens over time. Fascism happens over, multiple months, over multiple steps, over multiple moments of people not pushing back. And this is one of those moments.
And it's just like,
this is like, if this isn't worthy of your pushback, no matter where you are in the political spectrum, then I don't know what's going to get you to act.
It's so unambiguously just bad.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like, again, they didn't even know what the guy had. They just grabbed him because they didn't like what he said and said, oh, this guy's an immigrant. He's not from here. We can deport him. We can kick him out of the country no matter what. Marco Rubio's doubling down on it. They don't even want to pretend to charge him with a crime.
Yeah. Hasn't been charged.
They just want to get him out of there. Yeah. Like that none of this, like no step of this has been okay and should be accepted.
You know, by the time this episode comes out, he might be formally charged with something, right? Yeah. I assume they're going to come up with something. They usually do. But, you know, make no mistake, over the course of a week, he was arrested, detained, taken to Louisiana, and there was no charge presented against him. That is a complete violation of any due process law, no matter how you imagine it. And it is an unambiguous step towards authoritarianism.
Yeah.
It is.
What happened to Trump talking about how Democrats are weaponizing the DOJ to go after political enemies?
Mm-hmm. Unambiguous.
I don't know, man. It seems like that's exactly what you're doing here. Yeah. Not necessarily a political enemy in the sense that this is a guy that's running against you, but it's a political dissident that is saying things that you don't like, is saying things that don't fit the agenda of your administration.
Yeah.
You're just deciding you can deport them.
And I do think it's important to take a moment to say, like, this isn't Israel controlling the U.S. from the shadows or anything like that.
Yeah, that's corny.
It is just a confluence of, the military-industrial complex, various foreign policy interests that push the United States to act in a certain way to protect Israel.
Yeah.
And this is just a part of it.
It's not AIPAC controlling the world. It's a military-industrial complex controlling the world.
Yeah. It's like when students on Kent State's campus were shot after they were protesting apartheid in South Africa. Mm-hmm. Like, that wasn't the white South African government controlling the U.S. from the shadows. That was police reacting to students and the government having a staked interest in a certain outcome in that region.
You know, there are a significant amount of people back during Kent State that blamed the students for that.
Yeah. I think it's a similar situation.
I think so, too, because it's like, he shouldn't have gone out there and been pro-Hamas. Like, I feel like that's what a lot of people genuinely think, and it's like, is there saving you?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's bad. I mean, we've never treated immigrants that well in this country.
No, we've never treated college students that well, apparently.
No matter where they came from, like, back in the 30s and whatnot, we didn't even consider Irish people to be white, and it's like look at them.
Like, the whitest.
Either way, like, we don't treat immigrants very well. We certainly don't treat non-white immigrants very well. I don't know, man. This is just, it's troubling.
We might have to bring Swarthy back.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that wraps it up on Khalil. Not much to really say. Democrats should absolutely be pushing back on this. I saw a few were.
I was going to say, I think they are, but they're not screaming about it like they should.
Yeah.
Typical of the Democrats, I would say. But this next story, I hope they scream about like they should, because this has the potential to go even further and wider than what happened to Khalil.
They might just agree with it. This next one.
Well, Alyssa Slotkin might be like,
this is, we have a right to secure our border.
Well, obviously, the foreign incursion, whatever. This is there are alien enemies coming across the border. Oh, spoiler alert. So, on a related note, Trump on Saturday night, actually, officially invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to authorize the deportations of 5 alleged Tren de Aragua gang members. Tren de Aragua is like a Venezuelan gang or some shit like that. I don't fucking care. I don't pay too much attention to gangs. I just know they're alleging that this is a gang.
Yeah.
It is a gang. They're alleging that there are 5 members here that Trump wants to deport. And per NBC, quote, the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, 230-year-old fucking bill, contentious when it came out in 1798. I feel like that should tell you all you need to know. Mm-hmm. This has always been an unpopular act. I think... it's been invoked like 3 times in the War of 1812, World War I, World War II. The last time it was invoked purely for evil.
Yeah.
So, considering how controversial this is and considering the powers that this act gives, I'm just going to say maybe it's a bad act.
Yeah, and I think it was also passed alongside something called the Sedition Act.
The Alien and Sedition Acts?
Yeah.
The other one's expired, though.
Yeah. Well, it's like... So this is used only 3 times in American history. The last time it was used was World War II. And that was when, after Pearl Harbor in December of 1941... FDR in 1942 says he issues an executive order authorizing the use of this act to basically just round up people of Japanese ancestry on the West Coast and move them into internment camps. This resulted in one of the worst Supreme Court decisions ever with Korematsu v. United States, like up there with Plessy v. Ferguson and all the terrible ones, which is now seen as like remarkably evil.
Yeah.
I mean, we even paid, what is it? Like we paid the families, reparations. Yeah. We paid reparations to people that were harmed after like 40 years.
Yeah,
in the
we've
1980s.
Officially apologized for the act. It's widely recognized as one of the worst things we've like ever done.
Yeah,
at least up there, especially in the last 100 years. But
even the intelligence communities back then were like, there's no evidence that people of Japanese ancestry are fucking doing
Loyal
espionage
to the
to the Japanese Empire or anything like that.
Yeah.
And we were like detaining people that were born in America.
I was gonna say, I was gonna get to that later. In Japanese internment camps, it was not just Japanese foreign nationals that happened to live in the United States. It was Japanese citizens.
Yeah.
Like, and that should tell you where Trump may want to go with this, right?
And like the Korematsu United States case, dude's name was Fred.
You can't lock a like you can't do that.
It was an American named Fred who was dating an American, and he just didn't want to leave, and then he sued the government and whatnot. But like a guy named Fred.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's absolutely crazy. But anyway, I digress. Trump invoked this act to try and deport 5 alleged Traitorous gang members. NBC describes the Alien Enemies Act of 1978 as something that enables the president to quickly detain and deport immigrants from a, quote, hostile nation, either during times of, quote, declared war, or when a foreign government perpetuates a, quote, invasion or, quote, predatory incursion into the United States. Like I said, only ever been used 3 times: War of 1812, World War I, World War II. Japanese internment, one of the most evil things we've ever done.
Yeah.
Also important to note, it has only ever been used during times of explicit war.
Yeah.
As declared by Congress.
Yeah.
Notably, Congress is the only branch that can declare war. The president can't do that.
Right. Yeah, that is the other notable thing. Like the justification from FDR is like, we're at war.
Yes.
Therefore, discriminating against people based on
who
nationality, race,
is okay.
ethnicity is cool. Yeah. Obviously, that's not a good justification.
Yep.
That's not. It's immoral still. It's bad still. But when you compare then to now, we're not at war.
Yeah,
that justification doesn't exist.
No, Congress has not declared war. We are not explicitly trying to is a Venezuelan gang. We are not at war with Venezuela. Trump cannot just get out there and say we are at war in Venezuela. It doesn't matter how many times Trump or Greg Abbott get out there and say there's a invasion at the southern border to describe illegal immigration. Because there's not an invasion. We're not in a war as recognized by Congress.
There's no organized
army. You
army.
can't fucking do that. There's, I feel kind of stupid bringing this up, but there has been Supreme Court precedent that has established that you can only use this during war. There has been Supreme Court precedent that has gone out there and said that the Aliens Enemies Act is to be the words used when it talks about invasion and foreign incursion are explicit. They are not to be implicitly interpreted to mean like an incursion by an abuela coming across the southern border into America when we don't want her to.
Yeah.
Like there's a tradition of the law that says that Trump cannot do this.
Yeah.
I feel dumb bringing up the Supreme Court because, this is going to go to the court and then the evil court will vote, yes, it's okay, but...
Yeah, and a lot of the Supreme Court case, Korematsu, that basically sided on the side of the U.S. and said this is actually cool and good, that's been thrown out. Like, you can't cite that as precedent because it's been overruled.
Yeah.
So, I know precedent doesn't matter anymore.
No,
tradition, rule of law doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter with the Supreme Court. So, hopefully it doesn't get that far up there because we know something bad will happen, but... This is bad.
Yeah, shit plays out in steps, as we say.
Trump can't invoke this. And in his statement invoking the act, he said, quote, "Over the years, Venezuelan national and local authorities have ceded ever greater control over their territories, like their country, to transnational criminal organizations, including Traitorous. The result is a hybrid criminal state that is perpetuating an invasion of and predatory incursion into the United States and which poses a substantial danger to U.S. citizens." In other words, he is alleging that a foreign criminal organization, Traitorous, has taken over the fucking Venezuelan government and is sending abuelas here to give vent to your kids.
Yeah.
And the language he's using is deliberate. He invokes the words predatory incursion to try and say that, it's literally a predatory incursion. That's what it says in the act. I can do this. Mm-hmm. That's not what that means.
Especially because
he's just making shit up.
Especially because fent is mostly trafficked by American citizens for American citizens from the southern border. I'll admit, most of it comes from the southern border that comes into the U.S. But it's mostly it's like 80% of it's by American citizens. So
where's the foreign incursion?
Yeah. You got to go after your own people at that point.
Well, Japanese internment got American citizens.
Yeah, true.
Fully fledged American. 2/3 of the Japanese people that I think were living in the country, there's 120,000 at the time. 100,000 were interned.
Jesus Christ.
2/3 of them were just citizens.
Yeah, of course.
Come on, guys.
The threat here is that if he just decides you're a part of this gang, you're getting interned.
Yeah.
So
and the mental gymnastics you have to engage in to take that statement to mean he can invoke the Alien Enemies Act is absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He can't just say the words and all of a sudden that's the facts of the situation.
Yeah, he just read the bill.
You can't just lie.
Yeah.
You can't just say the buzzwords that conservatives love talking about buzzwords. You can't just say the buzzwords that you need to invoke one of the most evil things that has ever been passed in our legislature.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, gang. That's not how that works.
No. Need congressional approval.
You do need congressional approval. We can't just all of a sudden be at war with all of Latin America.
Yeah,
at least without Congress saying it.
You need a declaration of war. Like, legally speaking, you need the declaration of war. But even then, I don't think this is justified in any way. Every use of this act has been bad.
And it's been explicitly said that you can't invoke this in peacetime. There have been gray areas where I think, who came after FDR? Truman? Truman used the Alien Enemies Act to continue, like, internment past World War II, I think, of Germans. But, like, I'm going to say that's fucked up because I think internment was fucked up.
Of course.
But, like, there's a reason there. Like, it started during the war. They tried to argue that the president is the one who determines when the war ends. Fucked, by the way.
Yeah.
But, like, that's still very different than invoking this in times of explicit peace.
Yeah. And, like, after the war, it's just the German diaspora.
Yep.
Well, they're not doing anything,
That's what I'm saying, yeah. It's not the Germans that you brought over here, like the Nazis that you brought over here to do, like, NASA and shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, wait a minute. Operation Paperclip.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, we're going to keep the Germans that were just kind of living here in internment camps. We're going to bring the actual Nazis over to do science. I don't know, man. That's the guy.
Yeah,
kind of fucked up.
The actual Nazis, yeah, they're working on our rocket ships.
The actual Nazis are, like, chill and pardoned and whatnot. So, I mean, that's cool. But, I mean, back to the Alien Enemies Act, I think it's pretty clear that what's dangerous here is the fact that if his use of the Alien Enemies Act is upheld, he would be granted just extraordinary and far-reaching powers that would no doubt start to be turned on a broader swath of people.
Yeah.
This is not just going to be used against Venezuelan members of Tren de Aragua. If it's allowed to be used against Tren de Aragua because the courts decide to uphold the idea that, yeah, this can be interpreted as a war with Venezuela because a foreign criminal organization has taken them over. Hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Then he can literally explicitly use this against any Venezuelan national that is in the country, whether or not they have been even alleged to be part of a gang.
Yeah.
If this use to deport these big, scary gang members is upheld, he can use this to deport abuelas without cause.
Yeah, and of course, we're not going to stick with just Venezuelan nationals.
Yeah.
If you just look like you're from Latin or Southern America, like you're gonna get hit with this.
And again,
too.
yeah, he's targeting big, scary gang members right now. But let's not forget that when he's on the campaign trail, ever since 2016, he has tried to paint every single person that comes across the southern border as a violent drug trafficking member of MS-13.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire Republican Party has been starting to do this. Like,
Yeah.
that's not... Guys, that's not okay.
Yeah.
He's clearly trying to lay the rhetorical groundwork to just say that we need to kick out every single brown person from the South.
And I'm really glad that Chuck Schumer voted to increase ICE funding under that continuing resolution. That's really sick and awesome.
That is really sick.
That our Democrats just fucking signed on to exactly what's happening.
Well, they're
right
doing
now.
the Lord's work, you know what I mean? And then, he goes and does this right after the continuing resolution sign. So he does this after the new funds are secured for at least 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, gang, what are we doing? And it's like, speaking of Mahmoud Khalil, if he's willing to arrest and hold in ICE detention permanent residents, green card holders, you think he's really going to give the benefit of the doubt to the, guy that came across the southern border to start a better life?
No. Of course
That
not.
person literally did more things illegal than Mahmoud Khalil did.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that crossing the southern border is like anything crazy, but I mean, there's a fact that, like, definitionally it's a civil infraction.
Mm-hmm.
So they've at least committed some form of, like, a crime at the very least.
Yeah, and other people are certainly going to get caught up in this, and I don't know, I haven't really seen any pushback on this whatsoever. You know what I mean?
To be fair, it did happen last night.
Yeah.
Democrats better be talking about this on Monday.
Yeah.
I will be astonished. I'll be jaw dropped if I'm not hearing Democrats scream about this. Because, like, they love to try to be tough on immigration now. They love to be just like Republicans again on it. Mm-hmm. But they like to pretend that they have guardrails. Yeah. This is quite the overreach. This is even further than being, like, anti-immigrant. This is clearly just a violation of, like, constitutional rights. This is a violation of the law, the rule of law, Supreme Court precedent. It's power taken from Congress to declare war. Mm-hmm. This would be functionally giving the president wartime powers, or at least one of wartime powers under wartime authority. Mm-hmm. He's usurped every single branch of government to do this. If you're an institution head, you got to stand against this.
Yeah, if you give a fuck about the Constitution.
You got to stand against this.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's like, the argument's pretty clear. He can already deport these people. Like,
yeah.
if they're gang members and they're in the United States illegally or whatever, you can already deport them.
Yep.
You don't need to be able to do this. All this does is give him more power to discriminate against minority groups.
And he was trying to send them to, El Salvador?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's already doing that.
That fucking crazy prison.
Yeah.
That shit's nuts. But, like, If you don't believe me, which I don't know why you wouldn't, I want to just read a quote from Trump on the campaign trail in 2023. Trump gave a speech, I think in Idaho, where he said, quote, "I'll invoke immediately the Alien Enemies Act to remove all known or suspected gang members, the drug dealers, the cartel members from the United States, ending the scourge of illegal alien gang violence once and for all." And I mean, I think it's clear the key word there is suspected.
Yes.
Like I said when I read off what the Alien Enemies Act does, you can just deport any national. As long as you're at war with the country, or your invocation of the act is proven is upheld against one country, anybody from that country can be rounded up.
Yeah.
Anybody from that country can be put in a literal fucking concentration camp.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're in a gang or not. It just matters if you're Venezuelan or Mexican or from Honduras or from fucking Chile or Brazil. Wherever Trump doesn't want you to be from, he can round you up and he can send you back under this. This cannot be allowed to be upheld. And again, we did it before with American citizens. We put Japanese American citizens in concentration camps.
And we recognize why that was so terrible.
Exactly.
Like looking back, it is almost unanimously like that was a terrible idea. And also, Trump has said before, I think on the campaign trail for this election last year, that he wants the death penalty for drug dealers. Like, so that's just another thing on top of this already brutal policy that he is actively pushing forward that no one is stopping him from doing. I mean, it's remarkably evil.
It's just so bad.
It's bad.
It's just getting so bad, and it's like low-key getting worse. You know what I'm saying? Luckily, a federal judge did stop this.
Yeah.
They loaded those 5 guys up on a plane to Honduras, and the federal judge said, "You have to turn that plane around right now. You are not allowed to do this," and they did. So at least for the meantime, he can't do it, but there's going to be a battle in court. This will probably go to the Supreme Court. And once it goes to the Supreme Court, I guess we're in the hands of Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh.
Brightest legal scholars in the world.
Yeah, to maybe make the right decision.
Yeah.
Because I know Clarence Thomas is going to say you can deport them and fuck it, you can kill them too.
Yeah, and in fact, you should.
Clarence Thomas read a concurrent opinion saying, "Oh yeah, this is great, but also I think you should be able to kill him." I mean, we're at war.
Yeah, he will step up the evil. Leave it to Clarence Thomas.
Every time he does.
Yeah. It's bad out here, guys.
Yeah, it's fucked up. I don't fuck with the Alien Enemy. I condemn the Alien Enemies Act of 1798.
Yeah,
has have many people.
Shouldn't be
history.
able to use anything that's from that long ago.
It does real.
Should not be able to do that. Especially when it's only ever been used for evil.
Yeah,
and we know.
I mean,
that.
I can't speak to. I think they did it to British people in the War of 1812. I can't speak to whether or not that was good or bad. I don't know enough about that, but it's like.
It's probably bad.
Based on what I know about Japanese internment, that shit was probably bad.
Well, like it was 1812. You know how many people had British accents back then?
Everybody.
Yeah.
You guys came from there.
Yeah. That's where you're from, man.
You guys are them.
Yeah.
Like, you're barely different. You just got independence, like 40 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's sort of where we are, folks. Democrats sending us down to the underworld. Trump doing more and more stuff. It's
Furries
troubling.
in public school.
Furry in public schools. That might be the most important story of this week.
I condemn that.
Yeah.
I condemn that strongly. It's distracting.
Anything else this week? Oh, the Tesla thing. I forgot about that. I didn't include that in the show.
Oh my God, we didn't. That happened this week, didn't it?
Because to me, that fell into the dumb shit category.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of like illegal, certainly.
Yes.
The president can't do advertisements.
No.
But Trump has done this before, so it's not really new.
Well, it's like he got on Truth Social and he said it's illegal to boycott Tesla stock.
Yes, he did say that.
Not illegal.
Yeah, Trump did say it's illegal to boycott Tesla.
Where the free market head's at.
And then he did a Tesla advertisement with a MAGA red Tesla that Elon got for him. Or was it a Cybertruck? No, I think it was just a Tesla.
Didn't they have like the lineup of different Tesla models in front of the White House? Because he was reading off a script that had pricing information. Oh, okay. You see that picture?
Yeah. This is solely because Tesla stock has fallen.
Yeah, and also Elon Musk said, "Can you do something?"
I don't even think that there's a Tesla boycott right now. I think people just don't fuck with it.
No, the stock just fell. I mean, the stock market crashed.
Yeah,
like just in general, the fucking stock market crashed. Of course, Tesla's gonna crash. Also, when their CEO is being caught up in a lot of things that people don't fuck with.
Yeah. Also, Tesla is just a bad company.
Real.
Yeah, like they're not. A lot of Elon Musk's stock portfolio is only so rich and wealthy because he's good at lying to people and convincing them that he's going to build, the next self-driving car, for example, and then not actually producing the product that he's trying to sell.
Oh, like the Tesla Roadster. You remember that?
Yeah.
You remember how long it took the Cybertruck to come out?
Well, the Cybertruck was supposed to be able to like go through water too.
Yeah, and it can't even be in the rain.
Yeah, exactly.
You remember when it was supposed to have bulletproof windshields and he shattered it on stage with the hammer?
Yeah, yeah. So he's a snake oil salesman.
He's got
basically.
fucking anti-charisma, yet he just keeps winning.
Yeah, like we're always told, like economics has these hard rules that we have to follow and can't violate, but the stock market is totally just vibes based.
Oh, 100%.
That's all
It is 100% based on speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is trying to beat the next guy. There's no such thing as market fundamentals. Well, I mean, market fundamentals exist to an extent, but everybody is trying to manipulate those market fundamentals to get one over on the next guy. So to predict what's going to happen in the stock market, you not only have to predict what maybe a company is going to do in their quarterly report, you have to predict how fucking Jeffrey is going to react to that and how Steve is going to react to Jeffrey reacting to that to decide whether or not to short the stock, buy the stock, hold the stock, sell the stock. It's all bullshit. It's all gambling.
Yeah, and then when there's tariffs and a potential government shutdown, people start freaking out and selling shit.
Yeah,
that's
there's
just
uncertainty in the market,
yeah.
and so it's man, it's stupid.
But
man.
Trump doing a Tesla ad was fucking dumb. That shit.
30 minutes,
stupid.
30 minutes of fucking time. Everybody wants to talk about waste, fraud, and abuse. One, this is just abuse of the institution of the White House, like as an office, of the fucking office of the presidency. And two, how much did that 30 minutes of time take away from, I don't know, like the American economy, Trump doing important things?
Lowering the price of eggs.
I don't think he does important things right now. The only important things he's doing are important because they're evil and need to be stopped. So actually, maybe it was a good thing. Maybe it was a good thing that Elon Musk took 30 minutes away from him from, I don't know, deporting the Mexican grandma that lives next to you.
In other Elon news, there was also a story this past week that apparently Trump has told Elon that he can't fire people anymore and that it has to be the sort of
OPM?
purview of the cabinet secretaries themselves. So I don't know. It seems like there was a little scuffle between Elon and some cabinet members, specifically like the transportation guy and I can't remember who the other one was, but he was scuffling with a few of them. I don't know if this will result in any real of tension. People have been saying for like years at this point that Elon Musk and Trump are going to break up. I don't know. I'm not confident.
I saw something from fucking Ground News. Elon Musk donated $100 million to like not a Trump super PAC, but like to a fund that's directly controlled by Trump's team. So whatever happened there probably got worked out with that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We're living in a totally normal time.
I love Citizens United. I think it was probably the best Supreme Court case ever.
Yeah, that shit's never getting overturned.
Oh my God, no.
That's just never going to happen.
The grassroots effort that you would need to overturn Citizens United, it would be insane.
You would need new judges. Like straight up, you need new justices, which, I don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some old ones on there, but Trump's the president, so got to wait at least 4 years to get some new ones.
Well, he'll be the president. Gotta wait for a lot longer than that,
True. He's not going to have to run again.
I can't believe we're only 2 months in.
I know. So much has happened.
I was shocked when we were 1 month in. And this week I saw conservatives yelling about, mortgage rates are down and egg prices are down.
Oh, yeah.
Egg prices are not down.
Yeah, I've been seeing people on Twitter just claim that egg prices are going down. They screenshot some source that I have not been able to find.
I tried to I was trying to look it up last night. Because I was, making fun of egg prices and whatnot. I want to be factual when I deliver information.
Of course.
It's like, it looks like egg prices are down like temporarily, but I don't know why.
Maybe just because avian flu stuff.
I guess, but like I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And then I keep seeing predictions that say like egg prices are down for now, but this shit's not going to last. It's going right back up. And it's like, okay. Yeah.
I keep seeing headlines that like a surge is predicted and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like egg prices, like, I don't know. They just keep saying like Trump brought egg prices down. But like last week, they were like, well, Trump can't do anything about egg prices. He's the president.
Well, last week, Trump tweeted the Charlie Kirk article telling you to shut up about egg prices. But now it's okay to yap about egg prices when egg prices are down, apparently, dude. And they're also talking about how mortgage rates are down or like interest rates are down. And it's like, yeah, but the down payment's stopping me from buying a house. Well, yeah, but the 2% interest doesn't matter when I can't afford a fucking $3 million down payment for what used to be a $100,000 house.
Yeah, still can't afford it. Did Trump force the Fed to cut rates yet? I don't think that's happened yet.
I think once that happens, I think we're in for something bad.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's an inflationary period.
Yeah.
you can't cut rates, get people borrowing more money, and have inflation.
The president should not be able to tell the Fed to cut rates.
Yeah, that's not how it's supposed to work.
That's not how it's supposed to work. And it's actually really bad when that does work like that. Because the Fed, of like all the executive agencies, should be the one that absolutely does run independently. Because you don't want a president to say during an election year, cut rates. And then kill inflation, and then kill me with inflation. Kill me because my money is so worthless I have to withdraw my entire bank account and drown in it to buy a piece of bread.
Yeah, we're going to Argentina real quick. Yeah. Argentina style.
We're going to post World War I Germany. Hyperinflation.
Shock doctrine, baby. Here we go. We are liberalizing.
And what else happened this week? I also saw, I think, $1 billion in funding was cut. I lost my tab for it, but, it's extra, so we can yap. I can lie.
This is where we lie, you guys.
$1 billion in funding was cut for, like, food programs this week, so that's gas.
Yeah, that's really good.
I fuck with that, man.
I fuck with that hard.
I think you should grind. I think free lunch stops kids from learning how to hustle.
Exactly.
And that's what it's about.
Those kids should get back to work.
Yeah. Take your birthday money, invest it in the market, watch your money multiply.
Exactly. You get $100, invest into Tesla.
Yep.
Tesla's gonna shoot up because Elon Musk is controlling the presidency right now.
Take that compound interest. You know what I mean? In 50 years, you'll have nothing because Tesla will have gone to the shitter.
Man, Trump's got those buildings like all over the country that just say Trump on it.
Yep.
Saw one of those when I was in Chicago. That shit was disgusting. It's just huge, giant letters, so gaudy. I wouldn't hate it if it was any other person that I didn't know.
Yeah, but I don't like
Trump.
Yeah.
And because I'm looking at it, it's like, damn, that shit sucks.
I'm biased against it.
Exactly.
I don't want him venerated. You should have been like Kendrick on What's Wrong with Isaiah Rashad, and he was, might stay at the Trump Tower for 1 week, spray paint on the walls and smoke weed. That should have been you.
Yeah, but then I'm not getting my deposit back or whatever you put it at the beginning.
That's true, and you would have to pay him.
And it's a luxury hotel that I can't afford.
Do you see conservatives are making a big stink? Well, I mean, some guy, leftists always talk about firebombing Walmarts and shit.
Yeah, here you are posting.
Leftists on Twitter always talk about firebombing a Walmart. Apparently somebody did firebomb a Tesla.
Oh, shit.
I think somebody threw a Molotov cocktail into a Tesla dealership. Bad guys don't.
Yeah.
Guys who work at Tesla dealerships use car salesmen suck. Mm-hmm. And maybe Tesla car salesmen suck worse, but it's not that bad. You know what I mean?
It is crazy because we're out here condemning political violence, which I do.
I do.
Of course.
I do.
As leftists dedicated to the craft of political commentating, we're out here condemning political violence. It is funny the dynamic right now though is people like us are saying posters right now, commentators are saying obviously don't do violence. There are real ways that we can resist Trump. But then you got suburban moms out here maybe we should kill Elon Musk.
No, literally.
People
the
are
paradigm shift.
I think Tom Tillis posted some audio of calls that his office has been getting, and people were saying I'm gonna kill you.
That's crazy. Don't do that.
Those are white people in North Carolina, I think is his state. The times are bad, people.
I'm over here being measured in my punditry, practicing the art of punditry, trying to craft beautiful rhetoric and that doesn't incite violence in any way, condemning political violence in all shapes or forms. And motherfuckers are throwing Molotov cocktails in Tesla dealerships. You see those videos of people going around and vandalizing Cybertrucks?
Yeah.
That's just actually kind of funny. It doesn't hurt anybody.
Don't draw swastikas though.
No.
And don't do that anywhere.
Yeah. It's a bit fucked up.
I get what you're trying to do, but maybe don't put swastikas on any surface at all. It's just crazy. We're out here being intellectual and rational, and white women are acting like Robespierre.
Oh, absolutely.
Bring out the guillotines. What are we doing? It's bad, man.
Drawing the swastikas on the Teslas kind of reminds me of when that one lady on Twitter called Clarence the one white lady on Twitter called Clarence Thomas the N-word, and she's like, what? I'm proving a point. You can't. Not like that.
She says, no, I'm on your side, though. No.
No, you're not.
There are good and bad ways to resist authoritarianism. Yeah. You know what I mean?
There's still rules, you know what I mean? Oh, man.
There's some conventions there, yeah. Firebombing a Tesla is crazy. I condemn that.
I do condemn. That's actually insane.
They might have bought it used.
But they're making a big stink about it. You know what I mean? And it's I get it, but it's kind of lame.
Yeah, I think there's better ways to protest, probably.
Oh no, making a big stink about it. Conservatives making a big stink about it.
Conservatives making a stink about it.
Kind of lame right now.
Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah.
Whatever, man. I think that brings us to the end of this episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you're if you got some undocumented friends, as we've been saying for months now, shut up.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
All your friends are good, loyal American citizens who have never criticized Trump.
All my friends have SSNs. You know what I'm saying?
If anyone shows up to your door asking who indoctrinated you, just say that Head in the Office is a good patriotic podcast.
If anybody shows up in plain clothes around you and starts asking questions of any variety, zip it.
Exactly.
Zip it.
And you haven't heard anything from us.
Yeah, if anybody pulls up to you oh my God, there's this podcast I really like. It's called Head in the Office. What do you think of them?
We got red, white, and blue in the logo.
Wise man once said none at all.
Exactly. And I think we can leave the episode with that and thank the people that certainly won't say anything.
100%. These wise men and women and thems. And everything in between outside of those things.
Yeah.
Special
it's a
thanks
social
to,
construct anyway.
It really is. You know what I mean? Special thanks to Caden Kraut, Lord Tyler Radiant, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Dylan B., Andrew Harris, Mike Chaplinsky, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Caleb Joy, Rich Tari, Kevin Mayer Maldonado, Hunter W., Fergalaki, Max Vesquez, Jacob Rogers, Colin Blueberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Esbert, Jeff Muzzy, Big Burrito, Cincy Alex, Joe Stenstrom, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colleen Cutsfer Yook, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty, Crawfish, and Bennington III, Alexia Benanti, Nietzsche, Big Booty Beatdown, Sam Maloney, Two-Headed Boy, Ben Brio's Boyfriend, Ted Cruz's Boy Toy, Dictator Jace, Luke O'Shea, Cocker Tarleson, Danielle Jackson, The Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Science, Aaron and his Gundam Gundams, Darth Father, Tailored for Content, Corey Chambers, L.E.N., Devin Hatchard, Retro Mondo, Emma the Dude Slayer, Veronica, a.k.a. V, Raxon, Ash Smith, The Grotler, Flower Clown, Beetlebugs, Murder in the Trench Coat, Lonnie Rogers, Slavic and Sapphic, Casey Lane Kelly, Snake Eyes, In Hope of Giants, A.K. Gon, Zach Lantian, Info Russell, Austin Greif, Marcus Corbett, Taylor Roper, Taylor Rensock, Cammy, Tylen Freeman, Take Tay, Isaac Hodges, Madeline C., Kayla Lowe, Anna Validic, KCC, Say Yes to Wes,
August, Particular Pikmin, Sir Capalot, Jeff Sines, Howard the Duck, Brennan is Egg, JR, Drew Batchilder, Froggy Gumdrop, Jackie Boy, Shameless, Coherent Babbles, Sasha, MJ Sharp, Michaela Muncy, The Wallace 3000, Jared Finch, Tactical Snowflake, Son of Ander, Vanilla Bryce, Chris T, Kishan Lala, Amanda R, Hanky Panky, Tyler J, Damian Blues, Ashley White, Particulon, Memfrez, Lauren, Uncrasmatic Boar, Sasquatch, Ron Stiletto, Midwest Marxist, Joe the Mailman, Gary from West Michigan, Shawnee GG, Juniper Not Jupiter, Stacked Crabs, I Crowley, Urban Peach, Lord of Forlorn, Holt Forsyth, Kevin Kisaya, Schnoodle, Booty Snakes, Erica, Krusty Krab, Dew Fairy, Chelceratops, Austin Lima, Lane Waltz, Azim Fida Hussein, Gorgeous Girl Mukes, Brooklyn G, Noverk the Dastardly, Goldthorn, Addie Book, Merlin, John from Houston, Anaya, Cryle Bongi, That Art Dork, Sergeant Pookie, Connor Nix, Jordan T, Hoodie, Kim Kitsuragi, Rose Grimm, Kristen, Jamie the Young Extremist, Jack the Heathen, Archer W, Evan Mingo, AJ Torres, Elo Nico, Jake Hall, Seth Schmidt, Daniel Stock, Noah Sajas, Maja What, Ultra the Dragon, Mercy Boku, Dick Cheney and 6-Inch Heels, Luke Wechter, and my mom. Thank you all so much for supporting the show on Patreon.
Thank you.
We couldn't do it without you. And
Literally.
I'm asking desperately for you to lock in.
Please.
Gotta lock in.
Yeah, it's not that bad, really.
Nah, we got it, though.
I'm low-key not worried about anything.
Nah, I'd win. See you next week.
Have a great week.